Out of nowhere, I appeared in a dark room full of little boxes with steady lights deep inside. I looked around, but nothing else was there. Fear of falling into the emptiness of the darkness if I went away from those boxes was holding me closer to them. I moved forward to the nearest box and looked in, and the light inside the box blinded me and filled the whole of my visual space. When I got used to the brightness, I saw a man lengthily telling himself a sad story. There was a girl whom he had loved his whole life, thinking of her often till his old age. He was going through the repetitive thoughts in his head, saying, I could never be with her, I know, but it is such a torture. Then he was imagining someone who would listen to him and continued. Can you imagine that you love someone and you know that you can never see her again? Talk to her, be with her, though she's out there living happily with someone else. By cruel fate, we are not compatible. Then he would go on about ordinary things like how they could not spend even one day together without upsetting each other, without arguing. In the end, he said, it was better for both of us to go our separate ways, but it is so hard to tolerate the eternal part of it, the never part. I pulled my head out of that box with some struggle, full of yellow, sticky, sweet, and salty liquid that had filled me so much that I threw up. Then I felt water coming all over me, washing away all the stickiness, and that was nice. But then I was pulled into another box where a young girl was crying over her dead mother, yelling through sobs. Why, Mom? Why? Why have you left me? No answer, no hope. There, I noticed a pulsating word on her heart. Never. She silently whispered through the sobs, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it, Mom. Filled with bitter rose red liquid that smelled like tomatoes, I threw up into a big pot of something. Not having much time to get some air, I got underwater again. This time, water was cold and it couldn't wash me properly, so I felt miserable and sticky. I looked at myself. My body looked like a glass measuring cup with volume markers on both sides. When I looked up, I saw a silhouette of someone huge, whose hand was grabbing me and pushing me into the boxes, then pouring the liquid I got inside into a huge pot of soup. The soup looked at me and smiled kindly, as if it knew me very well. Uncertainly, I smiled back. Then I was put into the darkness of the dishwasher, where I fell asleep after this highly stressful day. When I woke up, I remembered everything. I knew it was just a dream, but something uncanny was about it, as if I was dreaming now and the reality was me being a measuring cup. Further on going with my life that day, I noticed more and more details sneaking into this reality, like that fragment of spoon I saw shining through my scalp over my right eye, as if someone had hit me on the right side of my forehead. At the end of that weird day, I believed that I was right. I put the following into my journal. The dream is indeed here in the human world, where we are free to do anything, where we are not things that someone uses to taste the smiling soup of the universe. But in reality, we are in so much horror that we are in a dream of constant denial. We are fantasizing about it all in a constant daydreaming. Though that sounds crazy. One would argue that life couldn't be that bad. It just couldn't evolve like this. Why would anyone live then? Yes, unless imagining normal lives is our evolutionary response to the horror of existence. That dream should be good, though. I cannot say it is good. More like tolerable. But others might be having better dreams. Anyway, I couldn't tell about this to anyone because I would end up in an institution for those who see things. Knowing the absolute truth about our existence, but not being able to talk about it with anyone without harsh consequences, made me rethink the freedom we have here. I put the following into my journal: the same deterministic reality, but with an illusion of freedom we have here as well. Nobody actually can just take a bus to the forest after leaving their job, family, and cat alone. No one man can suddenly stop doing everything he dislikes and start writing books the next day. No woman can just decide to stop paying taxes, go to forest and build a hut where she would live alone the rest of her life without thinking, but how is it to be mother and wife? What if I waste my female potential? What if? Yeah, people do all those things, but they go towards them for years. It is never possible to do anything without thousands of small steps that have led to this point. We determine our future from our choices in the past. But since all those choices are consequences of other choices, then the same is applied to every step on the path of choices. No choice is a real choice, but a consequence of precursors that go back to the origin of the universe. Does it matter then? Am I a teapot or an animal that thinks his life has purpose above just being a typical Bob from his side of Oklahoma? Is there a real difference between Bob and a teapot? Well, I'm here dreaming that I'm Bob because, though I accidentally have seen that I'm cookware, I still prefer to dream of being Bob. And that means that my consciousness leans towards human life as a better choice of existence for a mind. A glowing golden ring appeared in the air, and a blue, shiny hand came out of it and took my journal, then disappeared in the ring for a second, popped up again, and shook its index finger at me as if scolding me for being a foolish child, and then disappeared in the glowing hole. Thinking that I was going crazy all of a sudden, I saw the universe soup again, but it was as big as a pond. Over that soup pond, a big dark cloud was swarming, full of insects, birds eating insects, bigger creatures eating birds, and they all were flying over the water as one big blob of living beings, constantly eating each other. I was paralyzed with terror, feeling that all that mass of eaters would notice me and will eat me alive. I could neither move nor even think. Then I saw a beautiful face created by the swarm. It was looking at me with kind, smiling eyes. I managed to breathe in, and I made a step forward into the pond. Despite my fear, I knew it should be so, as if someone told me to come into the water, and I had no choice, but at the same time, I was doing it willingly. The swarm covered me. I was all in pain, screaming in agony. My mind was trying to escape, but couldn't. It was too real. It was the only reality now. Then I realized that I was the swarm, though it was not I. It was me being every insect, every bird, every creature, and deep down I was the water in the pond. All together it was me, smiling at the man fearfully approaching the pond. Pain, fear, and death were still there. I was not. We were the pain, the fear, the death, and the agony. We were the water. We were that smiling and the smiled at. We were the cook. We were the measuring cup. All this story was us. But then I woke up again, sitting in the night, covered with sweat and shaking. I realized that I must be sick. I took aspirin. Tomorrow will be yet another normal day. And I might never think of this again. Oh my god.